What if you are on a boat in the middle of the ocean and suddenly all the water disappeared? How would you escape from this dangerous, desolate, dried up ocean? What if the ocean water moved to land? If that happened, how would you survive? This is what we explore in today's movie story. You're going to love this movie's intriguing plot. The movie begins with a family on a private boat celebrating a birthday in the middle of the sea. The father's name is Tom and the mother's name is Julian. There's nothing but water in every direction and everything seems completely normal. Julian jumps into the water for a swim while her son, Ben, is fishing with his father. However, Julian suddenly feels as if something is pulling her down underwater, though she doesn't understand what's happening and manages to surface. Suddenly she starts drowning again, and at the same time, the instruments on their boat begin behaving unusually. Tom and Ben are busy with their fishing. Julian calls out for help, but Tom and Ben do not notice her. Julian then feels that the seawater is receding and she too is being pulled away. Tom notices Julian drowning and jumps into the water to save her, while Ben starts the boat's engine and drives it towards them. Tom manages to save Julian from drowning, and then Ben and Casey pull them onto the boat. Julian's life is saved, but Tom gets angry at his daughter Casey. He says, "Where was your attention when your mom went swimming? She told you she was going, but you didn't keep an eye on her. Because of your carelessness, your mom's life could have been at risk today." Casey apologizes to her parents and promises to be more careful in the future. Later that night, they celebrate Ben's birthday. Casey's boyfriend video calls her and shows her that a strong storm is hitting the city. Casey gets worried because they are at sea, and if a storm comes there too, their boat could capsize. She informs her parents about this, and they start checking the safety of their boat. While checking, they notice many sharks circling around their boat. Tom knew that sharks act this way before a major storm. They realize a big storm is approaching. During this time, their boat gets a strong jolt, and Tom goes underwater to check. He sees a dent under the boat, probably caused by a large shark. When Tom comes back up, he is injured, and Julian tends to his wounds. Tom tells his family that the boat has been significantly damaged, and they won't be able to move it any further. Their communication system on the boat is also down, and their phone has no signal, so they can't call for help. They check their supplies and find they only have enough food and water for 4 or 5 days. They discuss how to get back home, and during their conversation, they hear a loud noise from outside. When they go out, they see a large meteor heading towards them. To avoid it, Tom quickly starts the boat's engine, knowing that it could permanently damage the engine, which it does. The meteor approaches, and they go to the lower part of the boat and wear life jackets. They hear a loud noise and lose consciousness. When they wake up, they find themselves alive, though with minor injuries. Surprisingly, there is a large hole in their boat, but no water is coming in. When the family comes out of the boat, they are shocked to see the seawater completely gone, and their boat is now in a rocky, mountainous area like they have landed on another planet. The place has completely changed with high mountains and craters where the sea used to be. Tom quickly takes out his compass to check the direction and realizes that something is wrong with the Earth. He suspects that the Earth's poles have switched places, with the North Pole now at the South Pole and vice versa, causing the seawater to drain onto the land. Everyone is shocked, and Tom says that people who were on land might have died. Casey is deeply saddened and locks herself in the boat's cabin because her boyfriend was on land. Julian starts gathering the remaining food, and Ben releases his birthday balloons into the air, hoping that if anyone is alive, they will see them. Tom tries to contact someone via radio, expecting no response, but finally gets a response. The response is from a submarine captain who was also in his submarine when the seawater disappeared. He is a researcher and tells Tom that the seawater will return to its place in a week, and the waves will be very dangerous at that time. He advises them to move to a safe place where they have a chance of survival. Hearing this, Julian immediately tells her children to start packing. Tom asks the captain if he can take their children into his submarine since it is safer. The captain says he wishes he could, but can't, because his submarine can only accommodate 2 people. He can only take 1 person. Tom requests the captain to somehow keep his 2 children in the submarine. In return, he promises to do whatever the captain asks. The captain, being a kind man, agrees to Tom's request. Tom then finds out the location of the submarine and tells his wife that they can reach there in 2 days. He assures her that they can safely get their children there before the seawater returns, thus saving their lives. The next morning, the whole family gets ready for the journey. As they prepare, Tom sees a man approaching them with a dog. Noticing that the man is injured, Tom goes to him and offers him water. After drinking the water, instead of thanking Tom, the man attacks him. Julian, who is standing at a distance, witnesses this. The man kills Tom with a knife. Julian, unable to save her husband, quickly goes inside the boat and locks her two children in the cabin. She gives Casey a flare gun and instructs her to use it only in extreme need. Just then, the man boards their boat and Julian hides in the washroom, bandaging her wounds. The man starts searching the boat and finding food, begins to eat, indicating he has been hungry for days. After eating, he searches for Julian but finds all the cabins empty. Actually, Julian had exited through a hole in the boat. However, the man's dog spots her, forcing Julian to kill the dog to silence it and hide under the boat. The man realizes Julian is outside when he finds his dog dead. As he steps off the boat to catch her, Julian climbs back onto the boat through a broken window. Soon, the man catches Julian, beats her, and tortures her. When he starts strangling her, Julian fights back to save herself. Casey, witnessing this from the cabin, remembers the flare gun and decides it's the right moment to use it. She fires the flare gun, causing a fire on the boat, forcing Julian to escape with her children. As they leave the boat, the man attacks Julian again, but she kicks him away. Outside, Casey and Ben cry upon seeing their father's dead body. Ben blames himself, thinking that if he hadn't released the balloon, the man wouldn't have seen them and come there. Julian, hugging her husband's body, sees the man emerging from the boat. Realizing it's not safe to stay, she takes her children and runs away. Exhausted, they stop to rest behind a hill. Ben, thinking the man has given up the chase, continues to cry. Casey tries to comfort him and offers him clean water, but Ben, deeply saddened, refuses to drink. While they were talking, Julian sees that the man is still following them. They continue their journey, exhausted from running, but every time they look back, the man is still pursuing them. They don't stop and keep moving forward, even crossing a swamp at great risk to their lives because if they stopped, the man would kill them. As they keep running, they become extremely fatigued, and Ben gets very thirsty. They have only a few drops of water left, which they give to Ben, but it isn't enough. Casey loses hope, doubting whether they will survive. She suggests that they should accept their death. However, Julian encourages her, saying they will keep moving forward and that she knows she can save them. At Julian's insistence, they resume their journey and eventually come across a plane that had crashed into the sea years ago. They hide inside the plane. Julian looks at a family photo they took the previous night, and everyone remembers Tom. Night falls, and they are exhausted. Casey and Ben fall asleep, but Julian is restless and steps outside the plane. She finds that even in the darkness, the man hasn't stopped following them. Julian sees him and pretends to sleep. As the man approaches, she attacks him. This time, Julian is furious and attacks him repeatedly until she kills him, finally eliminating the threat. Julian sleeps peacefully for the first time in a while. The next morning, they see the man's body in terrible condition, realizing that even the empty sea is dangerous. However, they still have a long way to go to reach the submarine, and Julian checks the map. Ben becomes very thirsty on the way. He finds a pond and starts drinking the water, even though Julian had warned him not to because the pond was poisonous. Ben is so thirsty that he ignores her warning, and Julian has to pull his head out of the water. Drinking the water makes Ben ill, so Julian and Casey build a shelter to rest for a while. Suddenly, Julian hears strange noises outside. When she checks, she sees a swarm of crabs heading towards them. They start running to escape the crabs and soon find a large cargo ship with many containers. People are taking shelter in the containers. Seeing Julian and the children, the people lock themselves inside a container. Julian begs them to open the door, but they refuse. She and her children climb onto the container. Julian gets bitten by a crab, but manages to climb up. The next morning, Julian wakes up and finds her children missing. She is terrified because the place is dangerous. She sees Casey and Ben returning from a search for food and weapons. By then, the crabs have moved on. Julian contacts the captain, who tells her that he was attacked by crabs and is severely injured. He says he can't help them and warns that the seawater will soon return to its original place, which is why the crabs are coming back. The map is lost during their escape, but the captain fires his flare gun and Ben sees it. They head towards the submarine. It seems almost impossible to reach the submarine because they have to cross a rocky path where sea creatures might be present. Casey starts arguing with her mother, losing hope, but Julian scolds her and tells her to keep moving. Bad luck strikes again as a landslide occurs. A large rock traps Julian, who is at the back. Casey doesn't want to leave her mother behind, but Julian makes her promise to save her brother. Casey and Ben continue without Julian and eventually reach the submarine, where they start banging on the door. The captain, severely injured, tells them that only 3 people can fit in the submarine. Hearing this, Casey runs back to Julian, who is fighting off crabs. Julian runs out of bullets, but Casey arrives just in time to help her mother. They manage to escape and rush to the submarine. The crabs attack the submarine, and a massive wave strikes it, knocking them unconscious. When Julian wakes up, she sees that the submarine is not in the water, but has been washed ashore by the wave, which has devastated the city. They realize that humans have been wiped out from the land, and that's where the movie ends. Friends, if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling videos.